Does anybody have any comment on a closed session item? Okay. Seeing none, we're going to go in our closed session room. We're going to take care of a couple of closed session items, and we're going to be right back to get the meeting started. Our meeting should start right at around 6:30, like it's agendized. So in the meantime, enjoy yourself, relax. We'll be back. Thanks. Well, good evening again. Welcome, everybody. Can you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance. Okay, I have a brief report from closed session. In closed session, on motion of Board Member Hirota, seconded by Board Member Franz, the Board of Education voted to approve a settlement agreement with special ed case number 202212039. We have one other issue that we need to deal with from closed session. On case number 9-22/23 and case number 10-22/23, do I have a motion? We have a motion from Board Member Hirota. Do we have a second? We have a second from Board Member Franz. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That carries unanimously. All right, we are now at the adoption of the board agenda. I believe Board Member Hirota has a motion to make.
Drop items 5.2, 5.4, 5.6. Move public hearing 7.1 and 7.2 to after the consent agenda. Move item 8.1 to consent agenda and defer item 9.1 to the next meeting.
Great, we have a motion. Do we have a second on that? We have a second. I'll give that to Marla. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That carries. Okay. Announcement of meeting protocols. First, I'd like to say that what we just did is essentially clear our agenda. And we did that because we know every one of you are here to speak to us. So we are essentially turning over our meeting to make sure that everybody here has an opportunity to be heard. Now, you have normally two opportunities to speak, once on each agenda item and once in public comment, but we don't have any agenda items because we just cleared that. So we are going to get to that very quickly. We have just a few items that we're going to clear off. That was the motion that Board Member Hirota just made. We'll get through those really quickly. And then just a reminder that the meeting is streamed and recorded, both audio and video, and will be archived. So give us just a couple more minutes to get through these quick items, and then we'll be back for public comment. For the consent agenda, do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion, and I think I heard Heidi give a second. So we have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, none. So that passes. Part of the motion earlier was to skip all of our reports because, again, we want to hear from you. We do have two public hearings that we have to hear. If anyone is here to speak on either 7.1 or 7.2, I don't have any cards up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the public hearing, and if no one stands up and says they want to speak, we're going to close the public hearing and move on. The first item is item number 7.1, public hearing on CSEA contract proposals to the district. We have hereby opened the public meeting. Does anyone wish to address the board? Psyched me out when you fixed your hair. I thought you were raising your hand. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing? We have a motion from Board Member Hall. Do I have a second? We have a second from Board Member Franz. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Now we're going to move to public hearing, our second one, and that is 7.2, public hearing, district contract proposals to CSEA. Do I have anyone here wishing to speak on that? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing? We have a motion from Hall, seconded by Hirota. All in favor signify by saying aye. All right, none opposed to that. Okay, so now we are going to get to what you're all here for, and that's public comments. Give me a second here, get to the right section on my agenda. Okay, now I'm just going to give you a few guidelines. We have a lot of people and everybody wants to talk. Our goal here is to make sure everybody is heard. Now, as I told you, we made a commitment to that by dropping all of our other business and moving it to other meetings so that we can ensure each of you have been heard. I've got a lot of cards up here. We are going to move through them very quickly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call up the speaker and the following two speakers. That's your indication to get closer to the microphone so that we can move through fairly quickly. I'm going to read our rules here. The Board of Trustees encourages public participation during the meeting and requests civility and the use of courteous language. The board does not condone the use of profanity, vulgar language, gestures, or other inappropriate behavior, including personal attacks or threats directed towards any meeting participant and/or district employee. As I mentioned, this is the time when you all have the opportunity to meet us. Per our bylaws, because of the volume, we are going to give each person 1 minute and 30 seconds, so 90 seconds to speak. I will ask you nicely to stop at the time your time is up, and we'll turn the microphone off. But please be respectful of the time, because again, we want to hear from everyone. Now, I know this is passionate. We have passionate people on every side of this issue. But I'm going to ask you to please not disrupt the meeting by booing or cheering or all those other things, because we really want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to be heard. So with that, we are going to jump into it. We have some of our younger members of the public here to speak. I'm going to call on you first because you guys can get home and get doing your homework that you should be doing. So again, I'm going to call the first person, and then I will be calling the second and third person to be ready. First is going to be Gianna, and then is it Nyx, NYXX, and then Noella. And please try these microphones. As you can probably tell, as soon as I move away, you can't hear me. Keep your mouth close to the microphone, and your timer is going to be up here. We are ready for you.
Hello, my name is Gianna Darte. I'm a senior at Antelope, and I'm one of the queer students we are here to discuss and make decisions for. I'm here to do my best at representing the voices of my peers. LGBTQ plus safe spaces are essential to the safety and well-being of queer students on campuses. They ensure that every student has a place to go to decompress and an adult to guide them through it. The truth is, a lot of these students do not have this type of support at home, and I can tell you that a lot of us do not feel safe at our schools either. We do not feel supported by this district in any way. If you really aim to create a nurturing environment for all students on your campuses, please protect the few resources that we have as queer students. LGBTQ plus youth are more than 4 times as likely to attempt suicide as their peers. But with having at least one supportive adult, it can reduce this risk by 40%. I'm here to ask you to practice what you preach about protecting children who already feel outcasted and rejected by all of you. It is also extremely disappointing that this district is giving a voice to a group that used deceit and defamation to push their homophobic narrative. Please do not make decisions for children based on political propaganda produced by organizations like Project Veritas. In calling your views about the LGBTQ plus community political and religious beliefs is a very weak attempt at covering up your hatred. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh my goodness. It only took one speaker for you guys to break the rules. Remember, we got to keep this going. So try not to be, don't be so celebratory. Okay, we're going to have, you're going to help me pronounce your name in a minute, followed by Felina, followed by Noella. And I may have mixed those up, but you are up.
Hello, I am Nyx. I am also from Antelope High School. I am a junior, and I am an officer from our GSA, which will continue to protect our youths of LGBT within our school. I am here today because of the safe spaces that are being threatened to be closed down because of a vote for them to be closed, obviously. And for this sake, I'm here because I want to talk about how this could affect these kids, upcoming high school students and current high school students. By taking these places, it can really affect them mentally, and it can really make them suffer in different ways. And today, I'm going to say I have studied religious studies all of my life, and I am an immigrant. I have moved here from Europe. And stuff that I have witnessed in Europe is brutal beatings and so much physical violence. and things that I have witnessed verbally as well that I have been through, I don't want to happen here either. I want those safe spaces to stay open so people don't have to deal with that here either. Because what people have gone through Europe, I have felt safe in this school. These safe spaces have helped me and so many other students. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Felina, followed by Noella, followed by Lee. Okay, well then Noella's next, followed by Felina.
Okay. Hello, my name is Noelle Kazera. I'm a junior at Antelope High School, and I'm here to use my voice in hopes that those meant to protect me and my peers' education can finally hear our input. I truly respect and understand the district's reaction to the drag show incident. Our priority should always be to protect our teachers and students. However, the understanding of this reaction ends there. Our response to the cruelty of the outrage that came as a result of this incident is truly devastating and saddening. When people decide to spread hate, our solution shouldn't be to remove everything that elicits that reaction. Our reaction shouldn't be to ban books, limiting students' education and shielding them from reality and robbing them of their safe spaces, propaganda present or not. Students are in high school for 4 years, and it is unrealistic to send them into a world where they think that whenever they are met with conflict and hate, they should surrender to it and appease to the cruelty of these people. This is what we've seen from the district. In a moment where LGBTQ plus students were witnessing how much hate an event created for them could generate, the district failed them because not only did they come to the realization of how much their simple being is despised, they also realized that those supposed to protect them not only won't, but would go as far as to choose to take away all the progress that they have become accustomed to. Our queer students deserve to go into the library and find books that they can resonate with. They deserve safe spaces where they can be themselves when their home doesn't allow it. And they deserve to express themselves in any way that they wish. And most importantly, they deserve to feel protected by the district. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Felina, followed by Lee, followed by Joshua. Welcome. It's nice to see you. Usually you're up here with us, but
Yeah.
welcome.
Hi, my name is Felina Nguyen. If you recognize me, it's because I'm actually a RJUHSD student board member representing Antelope High School. I was sitting with the board at the last 4-hour board meeting discussing the drag show. It is crazy to me that we cannot even have students on the panel today at this meeting because of the unsafe environment that frankly I should not even be in right now. I had multiple warnings of going to this board meeting today because of the groups that would be here today. Sitting up there, I've noticed that Antelope community has not been represented. Today with me, I have the first 2 rows on the left full of Antelope students, parents, and teachers who want to be heard. If you can't see, we are all wearing pride pins supporting the LGBT community at Antelope, the district, and the entirety of queer identifiers. For the past 2 weeks, all of our front office staff, including our admin, have also been wearing pride pins after the hate that was spewed at the last board meeting. In RJUHSD, Antelope is the most diverse school. Antelope is the only school in Sacramento County out of our district. We are not perfect, but yet our admin and our teachers care about us. They are not grooming us, they are educating us. I want Antelope to be the precedent for RJUHSD. I want all of our schools to accept and welcome every student who walks through our doors, regardless of race, gender, and sexuality. I want our wellness centers to be able to assist our students in growing and embracing who we are and the challenges we face. As an Antelope-Tian, I want to set up the tone for the rest of the public comment by saying, let's keep this environment safe, respectful, and accepting. We have kids in this room. So if you want to protect our children, let's keep our comments appropriate. I do not want to be scared being in this room today. Thank you.
All right, I have Lee, followed by Joshua, and then are there any other students that may have filled out cards that I'm not aware of? Okay. Lee, followed by Joshua. Hi, Lee.
Hi, my name's Lee, and I know I'm not going to change the world here, so I'm not going to try to. Instead, I am asking for anyone, anywhere, just to listen. I am 17 years old and queer, and I want to tell every single other queer person something. You don't deserve this. You don't deserve the few resources you have to be taken away from you. I know what it is like to be unsafe at school. A pride flag was burnt last year, and this district did effectively nothing to make us feel safer. I had to fight for 2 years to get a bathroom that I wouldn't get beat up in. In my time in this district, I tried to kill myself 4 times because I didn't feel welcome or loved or safe. I am lucky to have a family who loves every single piece of me. Not everyone is. I graduated early from Granite Bay High School last semester, not because of incredible grades or intelligence, but because I was tired of going to war instead of school every day. The landing spot and organizations like it are not grooming children. They are giving us a break from constantly fighting and trying to find our place in a world that has made it abundantly clear that they will not make space for us. This district can be a safe place, but it is not yet. You have the choice to make it one. Listen to me. If you are queer, I love you. I love you so much. Whatever the other people are going to say, pay it no mind. We deserve so much better than this, and you have the ability to make it happen. So I am begging you, please.
Thank you.
Heal.
Our next speaker is Joshua. Welcome.
I am a senior at Adelante High School, and I'm set to graduate this coming May. And I just wanted to read the HIPAA law because these parents are trying to get forcibly outed their children. And HIPAA is a federal law that has required the creation of national standards to protect sensitive patient health information from being disclosed without patient's consent or knowledge, not parents. Sorry. And school health programs records are subjected to HIPAA if the program is funded, administrated, or operated by on behalf of public or private health, social services, or other non-educational agencies or individuals. And it is to my understanding that the wellness centers are in this category. And now for my personal part in it, the wellness centers have always been there for me. I have transferred through multiple schools in my education journey, and I've never had the support I've had in the wellness centers that I get from there. And I'm a trans man, and having these queer spaces, or just spaces in general where I'm understood, is
Okay.
life-saving. That's all the time I have. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. This is the only time I'm going to ask you to clap, but we have a bunch of students who came here and took the time to express themselves, so let's give them all a round of applause. All right. Now for the students, we're not going to take any action tonight. This is a listening session, so you're more than welcome to stay, but if you got to go do homework, we understand that too, so it's completely up to you. All right, we're going to get to the rest. Hopefully you can all be as succinct as these wonderful students of ours. So first is going to be Pam Pose, P-O-S-Z, then followed by Michelle Tong, followed by Meg Weiss. Pam, come on up.
My name's Pamela Pose. I have a child at Granite Bay High School. The Trevor Project estimates that at least one queer youth attempts suicide every 45 seconds. Short of producing a dead child, you cannot prevent a trans child or a gay child. I'm going to read a few headlines. Parents of gay teens who died by suicide sue school district for ignoring his pleas for help. 12-year-old boy took his own life after relentless bullying over his sexuality, inquest hears. Gay teen killed himself after endless bullying, mom's lawsuit. Teen commits suicide due to bullying, parents sue school for son's death. School failed to protect 12-year-old who took his own life after he was bullied for being gay, suit says. In this environment, in this room and this country, even kids from supportive homes will be bullied and will attempt suicide. 2 LGBTQ kids will have attempted suicide while I've been talking. I'm going to read some names of kids who committed suicide for the rest of my time. Justin Aberg, 15. James Miles, 9 years old. Jaheim Herrera, 11. Carl Joseph Walker, 11. Elias Fritchley.
Thank you.
12.
Your time is up. Our next speaker is Michelle Tong, followed by Meg Weiss, followed by Rebecca Galling. Michelle?
Hi, good evening. I'm going to change it up a little bit because I'm still here to talk about some of our curriculum issues. I want to speak particularly to what Mr. Constant referred to in the last meeting as controversial materials and how they will be handled. And I'm paraphrasing, but Mr. Constant said that items that are deemed to be sensitive in nature or controversial will be flagged, discussed, and reviewed. And who will be the one to decide what is controversial? If you pre-flag materials as controversial, you're already setting them up to be censored or banned. Why not allow the teachers to go through the current process that we set up before, and that if a student or parent feels something is controversial, then they can discuss it at a site level. They can use the board policy that talks about controversial materials, but nothing in the board policy or the education code allows you to pre-flag materials. Please don't censor the materials. Also, I really want you to listen to these students tonight. They were amazing. These are the kids. Heidi, you emailed me today, and sorry, Miss Hall, you emailed me today, and you asked me what rights didn't they have? They just told you they don't feel safe because of what has happened. Not at all. That's what is lacking, and that is the problem. Please listen to these students. And I'd like to know what the board is going to do to make the kids, to make the students, the LGBTQIA plus students, how are you going to make them feel safe? What are you going to do to recognize them? Sacramento City Unified is flying a pride flag. Are you going to do that? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Meg Weiss, followed by Rebecca Goling, followed by Carrie Phantom. Thank you, Meg.
Hi there. First of all, I want to compliment the students who spoke up today. I know it took a lot of bravery to come to speak to the board at all, but to come with a community that wants to attack people for ideas or living their truth. It's not safe for them. It's not safe for them to come here, and it took a lot. I have actually a comment that I'll read from a parent of a student in the landing spot. She says, I wish I could go tell the community how important the landing spot has been for my family, how grateful I am, but a target has been put on our backs, and I won't put my child at greater risk. This is at our school district. The so-called public servants on the board have made many of us feel unsafe for simply loving our kids. Seems like the board has taken a position that favors misinformation. It favors one narrative. I still have time. It favors certain churches in the area, but it has not stood up for these kids. That's your job. Stand up for our kids.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rebecca, followed by Carrie, followed by Jennifer Tisdale Morgan.
Thank you. My name is Rebecca Galling. I'm a longstanding member of this community, 27 years, raised 2 kids who went to school in both Roseville and Loomis. Something really ugly happened in this community this week because of Project Veritas, some grandstanding members of the evangelical community who grossly misrepresented a group. And frankly, I think this board had a lot to do with that and its aftermath. You could have paused and considered the source. We know that Project Veritas has a long history of misrepresenting groups through dishonorable means. Taken a breath, you could have reconsidered, but instead you forward, which is essentially a hit piece to every parent in this school. The aftermath of that was terrible. We had a goon squad, essentially, Proud Boys, really, descend upon a church, give death threats to church members because of the windup that happened this week. So I would ask you to reconsider your position on the landing spot who only serves to provide a safe space for LGBT kids in high school. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Carrie, followed by Jennifer, followed by Tiffany Marshall. Carrie, welcome.
Hi, my name is Carrie Phantom. I attend Loomis UCC and have attended the landing spot meetings with my LGBTQ daughter. I can speak from personal experience about the church, Pastor Casey, and the landing spot. Pastor Casey is a safe person. His organization serves as a safe space for the LGBTQ teens in Placer County. He's not a groomer. He's not a pedophile. It is ridiculous that I have to stand up here and say this. In addition, any presence of Pastor Casey or a landing spot representative on campus is by the direct invitation of the GSA group on campus. In closing, I would like to say the school board made a terrible decision to throw the landing spot out of the schools based on a video from a far-right pretend journalistic group. Please do your due diligence before making any more brash decisions. The landing spot saves the lives of our LGBTQ youth in our schools and in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jennifer, followed by Tiffany, followed by Justin Masters. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Jennifer. I'm a parent of Roosevelt alumni, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here because I am a social worker, and I am a step-parent of LGBTQ youth. I am here to remind you that as public school board members, you are charged with the responsibility of protecting and serving all students, whether their existence aligns with your own ideology or not is irrelevant. In fact, sexual orientation and gender identity are explicitly protected by Title IX and by California SB 1441. I'm here to discuss the real risk to our youth. A leading cause of adolescent death is suicide. Trans youth have a 4 times greater risk of suicide attempt. While their peers are concerned about career choices, the top 3 concerns for LGBTQ teens are unaccepting families, school bullying, and the fear of being outed. Culturally competent, confidential mental health support is critical. For teenagers who identify as LGBTQ, it can be difficult to gauge where it's safe to come out. In fact, 21% of LGBT youth in California, only 21%, are out to their parents.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tiffany Marshall, followed by Justin Masters, followed by Kevin Collia. Tiffany?
Hi, my name is Tiffany, and not only am I a queer parent of queer teens within this district, but I myself went to a school in this district. I've chosen to speak today due to growing concerns over the protection and safety of our LGBTQIA+ youth and the ability to continue to provide safe spaces for our youth. With the recent emails sent by the district regarding Pastor Casey of the landing spot, I am concerned that this district has no idea how to protect marginalized groups. There are people here weaponizing their faith to demonize innocent leaders in our community. That deceptively edited video created and manipulated by Project Veritas to villainize Pastor Casey should have elicited a response of fact-finding by the district, not an immediate reactive email involving reporting to the Roseville Police Department and CPS. As board members, one of you should have done your due diligence. As a queer person, I have long known the hate that our community endures. As a high school student in this very district, I was often called the F slur and bullied. I was told I should kill myself. A former classmate of mine told me that F slurs deserve to be dragged behind trucks by a noose around our necks. I had teachers at my school who heard and saw things and did nothing. And now here we are 20 years later, we finally have gay-straight alliances on campuses, and we have nonprofit groups that offer support and safe spaces. You guys, you have a responsibility to our community. John Becker hasn't looked at one person standing up here. I've been watching you the entire time. That's great. You can still make eye contact with the youth that have spoken to you.
Thank you. Your time is up. Justin, followed by Kevin, followed by Christian Hartsolt, I think. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, thank you for indulging us for our comments. There's certainly a lot of passion and bravery on both sides, and I'm glad that they are showing up. I have been a public official myself in the past and welcome the public input. I myself, despite what I look like now, was a scrawny kid who was beat up and had my own issues with a traumatic sexual experience as a kid that affected the way I perceived myself and those around me as I grew up. I believe that it is important to have a supportive, safe space. However, judging from the words of the pastor himself, the methods and words that he chooses to use are selective at best and misrepresentative at worst. It could certainly be misinterpreted or interpreted to be much, much worse. That's, if I was a parent sitting opposite from him, listening to those words spoken to me, I would wonder if he's going to use those same tactics, misrepresentations, half-truths against myself or my child. I think it's fair to be prudent in being cautious about somebody who employs those tactics in their access to students on the campuses. There are already safe spaces here. There's no need to invite anybody in who's going to choose to use those methods to misrepresent themselves or possibly put at harm kids that are here. It needs to be open, honest, and say exactly what's going to happen, where they're going to meet, who they're going to meet with, and that's...
Thank you. Your time is up.
All right, thank you.
Oh, hold on just a minute. We have Kevin, followed by Christian, followed by Christina Duarte, and please, everyone's been respecting the speakers. Let's continue to do so. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Kalia. Tonight, I'm reading a statement from Pastor Casey Tinnen. Pastor Casey writes, I want to tell you tonight that the hate that has been directed at me and my church community this week has been immense. Proud Boys paraded outside my home with a megaphone, calling me a groomer and a pedophile, saying I should not feel safe in my neighborhood. There have been death threats. There have been bomb threats. I am saddened that our community...
Hold on a second, sir. Please, everyone. Everybody has been respectful. I don't care which side people are speaking on. I expect you to be respectful and quiet so they can have their time. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry about the interruption.
Pastor Casey is saddened that our community feels it has hit a boiling point. I'm worried that our LGBTQ plus youth who must live in a world so riddled with disdain for them. Unfortunately, I think the board has so far fanned the flames of hate. The statement that Superintendent Becker and President Constant put out was filled with misstatements. It gave legitimacy to the work of discredited provocateurs who illegally recorded video and manipulated it to fit their hateful narrative, as they have a long history of doing. It didn't give a fair account of the life-saving work the landing spot has been doing in our district for years, or the facts that district staff knew at the time. Our families have told us that the board's letter made our kids less safe. I am disappointed, but I will not be silenced. I asked for continued prayers and support from our community, and I call on those who've reached out to me
Thank you. Your
to
time
speak
is
out.
up. Our next speaker is Christian, followed by Christina Duarte, followed by Alan Duarte, I believe. Christian, is that you?
Hi,
Okay.
I'm Christian Hartsock. I'm the Chief Investigative Reporter for Project Veritas. We have some outstanding questions, which we invite you guys. I'm going to be around for the evening, so I invite you guys to come talk with us if you're willing to address these questions. Number one, how did the school board allow the landing spot to come on campus, operate behind locked doors without signing an MOU, Memoranda of Understanding? It's our understanding that other groups and services had to sign those. So how was it that the landing spot was not held to the same rules as others using school property? How long has this permission been granted without parents knowing about it? Was the school board aware that Casey Martinez Tinnen was calling the Child Protective Services on parents? The pastor said number 5, the pastor said he was distressed by Mormon parents in particular. Have you had Mormon parents of students bring this to your attention since PV's reporting? And what is the current status of the landing spot having permission in the future consideration of the status of the landing spot having permission on campus to, and access to students. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker. Come on, you guys. You guys have been so good for so long. Let's keep the applause down so that we can get through everyone. Christina Darte, followed by Alan Darte, followed by Lori Canali, I believe. Sorry if I'm messing up some names. Go ahead, sir. Oh wait, Christina's next.
Well, Christina's my wife, and
Okay.
she had to step out. She's an advocate.
So are
for
you
youth.
Alan?
So I'm Alan. I'm her
Okay.
husband, and I think she's going to pass her time since she had to step out, and I'll take my time. I'm here in solidarity with my child, Gianna Darte, who was the first speaker here this morning or this afternoon. And my main goal here is to express as a parent, one of the most important things I teach in my household is representation. And so when you look up at the board, one of the most important things I think for our youth to see is that they're represented. And so, as a man of color in this community, having lived in Roseville for the last 20 years, I can honestly say that my experience, I have not felt represented, but I don't hold that against the community. I've been treated very well while I'm here, and I've worked here for many years. But my frustration is hypocrisy. And I think that the basis of what we're speaking against here in terms of not supporting the LGBTQ community is founded in quote unquote religious beliefs. I am a man of God, and the most important scripture that I hold dear to my heart is the one that says the new commandment, in which Jesus Christ says, follow the new commandment. The new commandment I give to you is love. Love as I have loved, which the way he loved was sacrificially and unconditionally. The people that he supported were fringe members of our community. He actually spoke against the hypocrisy of the Pharisees. If you're not careful, you will be Pharisees. My goal here tonight is to remind you that the new commandment is to love others as you have been called, as he has loved you.
Wait, Alan, just 1 second. If Christina comes back and wants to speak, just catch my attention. I put her card aside.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Lori, followed by Jen Lauer, followed by Nicole Young.
My name is Lori, and I have 2 kids here in our schools. I'm reading from the book Lucky, a current book in RJUHSD. I'll kill you if you scream. I have a knife. The knife fell from his hands and was lost. He pounded my skull into the brick. Please don't rape me, I said. Take off your clothes. He began to knead his fist against the opening of my vagina and inserted his fingers into it, 3 and 4 at a time. Something tore. I began to bleed there. He worked his whole fist up into my vagina and pumped it. Give me a blowjob. He kicked me. I curled up into a ball. He shoved my head forward and put me in and put it in. Don't you know how to suck? Get back on the ground. He plunged himself inside me. I'm here tonight for my kids and for all the kids in this district. I'm also here for the younger kids and families coming soon to high school. I'm not here for any one group or community. For me, all this isn't about being gay, bi, trans, or straight. I'm here to insist the board do a swift and complete removal of the current perverted sexual and violent materials in our school. These materials hold no value in school. They are not inclusive, but rather perverted doctrine. The community's distrust. How in the world is this district not in the know of the landing spot being with our kids?
Your time is up. Our next speaker. Our next speaker is Jen, followed by Nicole Young, followed by Carolina Fensky. Welcome.
Evening. I've been compelled to stand up and be a voice that says enough is enough. I urge the board to continually put the safety and well-being of our children and their families as a priority and to put a stop to this nonsense. This community deserves complete honesty and transparency from all school staff and board members. I am a mother of 4 children and have lived in this area for approximately 22 years. Never in my life would I have believed that the public school system would be in the state that it's currently in. The recent Project Veritas video provided the community with several revelations, none of which are positive. We learned that the local wellness centers on school grounds have been referring children to outside organizations without parental knowledge or consent. What other referrals are these wellness centers making? Why aren't parents being notified? Are they referring kids to other churches, or is it just ones with specific ideologies? Have the proper steps been taken to fully vet these other organizations? In regards to the types of books that are being reviewed for the use of school libraries and classrooms, please be reminded that in the state of California, the age of consent is 18. It is unlawful to engage in any sexual conduct with a minor. So why do we even have to discuss whether or not it's appropriate to provide kids with books that contain explicit sexual content? The sexualization of children needs to stop immediately, period. Thank you for all you thank you for your time, and I appreciate all you do for our children.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Nicole, followed by Carolina, followed by Devin, Burke, and Nicole. Apologies. I think you want to speak on closed session. Did I mess up?
It's fine.
Okay. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Good evening. Just first, I want to start off with there's a lot of signs being held up that say misinformation, and misinformation is not information you don't like. It is just information. And there's a lot of information that I don't like that is actually true. And I wish that it wasn't, but it is. So we can all agree that maybe there's some things we didn't like to hear on that particular video, but so far nothing has been refuted. There's been a lot of ad hominem attacks, but actually nobody's coming out and saying this is patently false. So it's okay.
Please respect the speakers.
And
Stop.
so that
Hold on, Nicole. Those who speak out of turn and shout out will be asked to leave this meeting. This meeting is for respectful dialogue. We want to hear from everybody, no matter what side you are. If you don't respect the speakers and you disrupt our meeting and call out, you will be asked to leave. Nicole, I'm sorry, you may continue.
Thank you. And I have raised a lot of kids. I am a mom of many. I have adult children, and they would all have loved a place where they could go where I wasn't allowed, where they could talk about things that they knew I couldn't do anything about. And even though there might have been behaviors that I didn't approve of, nothing was ever going to stop me from loving and accepting my children. And every parent should be given that opportunity to love and accept their child as they are, with their imperfections and their faults, just as they love us as parents with our imperfections and our faults. We cannot approach every parent that they are abusive. Thank you.
Carolina, followed by Devin Burke, followed by Jeremy. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Carolina Fensky. I am a concerned mother of a child at Wood Creek High School. I want to thank the board for stopping the presence of landing spots in our campuses. I am here to request that the school board launch an investigation into the wellness centers in our campuses. Our community is deeply concerned about the well-being of our children, and we want to know who else these centers might be referring our children to without our knowledge. These wellness centers claim to be safe space for students, parents, and staff. Well, as a parent, I certainly don't feel safe with my child going to wellness center, because we have a reason to believe that students are being subjected to unwanted proselytizing without parental consent. Furthermore, we have discovered that these centers are referring students to dangerous individuals, including groomers and possible pedophiles. Yes, pedophiles, because when you say transgenerational or multi-generational relationship, you are a pedophile in my book, who are advocating for lying to parents, to use puberty blockers, and other concerning activities that we still don't know. We demand absolute transparency in how this organization was allowed to establish itself on our campuses in the first place. Our children,
Thank you. Your
children's
time is
safety
up.
are when-
Our next
Thank you.
speaker is Devin Burke, followed by Jeremy Thomas, followed by Cynthia Hilliard. Devin?
Good evening. I would like to thank the board for their statement regarding remarks made by Mr. Tinnen and the recent Project Veritas video. Anyone that encourages children to lie to their parents is beyond revolting and only seeks to diminish the parent-child relationship. Mr. Tinnen states he gains access to children through the wellness centers on campus. Do administrators or you, the board, know what is offered, services, therapies, medications, etc., in these wellness centers? Exactly what laws, if any at all, prevent school administrators from sharing this information with parents or the public? As public entities funded by our tax dollars, there is a definite need for transparency. Today at the West Park Site Council meeting, the administrators said they wanted to increase referrals to the wellness center by 10%. Seriously, wouldn't a school like to see a decrease in wellness referrals? As far as books go, book banning has been the rallying cry of some parents. By using that term, they seek to intimidate parents like myself who believe this isn't about viewpoint diversity, but rather about protecting children. No one is banning books. You are free to purchase that book at any time and give it to your child. We are saying these books are not appropriate for a minor to access in school. The American Bar Association states exposure to pornography harms children and youth by normalizing sexual violence, creating unrealistic expectations for intimate partners and relationships, and increasing risk of addiction. Yet here we are debating whether our schools should give unlimited access to materials that can harm them. Why is this even up for debate? Removing these explicit books from school libraries and curricula is not book banning. It's called protecting children, which you all swore to do. I'm asking for the approval process to be transparent and done with parents. Thank
Your time is up. Thank you. We have Jeremy, followed by Cynthia Hilliard, followed by Jay Reed. Go ahead, sir.
First off, Project Veritas, damn good job. Scott Nugent, a female to male trans, did a speech recently exposing the truth behind medical transitioning. It isn't about the health of the person, it's about the money. In 10 years, gender-affirming care could be a $5 billion business. Medical transitioning doesn't cure anyone, and there are only 7 cherry-picked studies showing it does. These studies are modified and lack time and effort to make them viable, but these are the ones doctors use to support transitioning. The mainstream media will never cover this. 95% of all medical transitioning is experimental. The only one that isn't is top surgery. There are no studies showing the long-term effects that these surgeries have on children and adults. What we are seeing now is osteoporosis after these surgeries, shrunken hearts, and couple that with the only long-term study that followed these people for 30 years in Sweden, which is the leading country for transgender medicine. 2 months ago, they halted all medicalization of children because a discovery was made that found that girls' spines are not fusing together properly while on puberty blockers. This is just a small part of Scott's speech. I highly encourage people to go and watch it. If an organization or a pastor is pushing puberty blockers on children, they do not have their best interests at heart. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Cynthia, followed by Jay Reed, followed by Camille Perkins. Cynthia?
Hi. I just want to say that if we're talking about the safety and security of our children, which every single adult in our community, from parents, teachers, educators, our law enforcement, we are all responsible for the safety of our children. And I don't think that the signs with misinformation, I think that there's a lot of that going around with a misconception of us not wanting safety for any child. Every child deserves to be safe. This doesn't have anything to do with their sexual orientation or their gender. Camp Fruit Loop. Reverend Casey Tinnen is advertising Camp Fruit Loop in the middle of Forest Hill for 13 to 18-year-olds. That doesn't sound safe to me. That risky business in the middle of the woods. If a grown man were to take a minor child, a young girl, to the woods, guess what? He would be in jail. And that is unacceptable. So this isn't about our schools. They're putting you guys on.
Stop for one second. Please respect our speakers. Go ahead.
I think that the position that all of you guys are in, everybody casts the blame on you. However, we need to look to our local officials. It starts with our parents, our law enforcement, the school board, but our local officials, because this is written in California Department of Public Health, and every single time we comply and allow this is putting responsibility and liability on all of our plates. So we all have the responsibility to step up to the plate and call these people out. This pastor advertising that stuff in puberty blockers, that's not just a safe spot for children. The students, parents,
Thank
teachers,
you.
and
Your time is
administrators.
up. Jay Reed,
If you
followed
guys-
by Jay will be followed by Camille Perkins, followed by Randy Perkins.
Go
Jay?
ahead, raise your misinformation signs right now. Go ahead, do it. I'm not a member of the Proud Boys. I am not part of any type of right-wing alt extreme group. In fact, my mother is gay. And that's hard to say because my comments are going to be interpreted by everybody here as hate spewed. And that is nonsense. This nonsense of like, I hate people is ridiculous. The rhetoric over the last few days is unbelievable. Project Veritas is a right-wing organization. The video is heavily edited. Let's get down to the brass tacks here. Here's what he said. I encourage children to lie to their parents. That is irreverent. So instead of like, bringing the family unit together, what's he doing? He's separating them. I call Child Protective Services on parents who misgender their children. Again, a reverend saying those things. You can't dispute that. That's what he said. There's no context. I like water. You don't need context. That's my thought. You know what I'm talking about. I call Child Protective Services on parents who misgender their children. He said it. So it is irresponsible to continue this dialogue without understanding, hey, if I was accused, like Casey's been accused, I would be screaming at the top of my lungs, this is what I meant. But we don't hear that from him.
Thank you. Your time is up. We have Camille, followed by Randy, followed by Wendy Beal. Go ahead, Camille.
My family and I have had personal experience with the landing spot and with Pastor Casey. Our child has gone to their meeting at Wood Creek, and we have been to parent meetings and have had very helpful conversations with Pastor Casey. When our child came out to us, they needed support and we needed help knowing how to love them the way they needed. Sadly, because we are Christians, our child was afraid to come out to us. Thankfully, we were able to get help from people who cared, shared our values, and were knowledgeable. We wouldn't have known about the landing spot if it wasn't for Wood Creek. Thank God it was. It is impossible to know what it feels like to be in our shoes until you are. We needed help and resources outside of our immediate surroundings and didn't know where to go. We are so grateful to have found resources like the landing spot who readily came alongside us and our child. Their help was critical to us in our time of need. It's been said that a tree is judged by its fruit, and the fruit of the landing spot in our lives and in the lives of others involved, like my close friends and my child's close friends, is very good fruit. Some other families, there are others that would be here, but they are too afraid to come because of threats. We are incredibly grateful to the landing spot and to Pastor Casey for their help, and we hope that this will still be available to the kids in schools and for their parents. They are literally saving family relationships and lives.
Thank you. We have Randy, followed by Wendy, followed by Kathleen Finnerly, I believe, or something close to that. Randy, go ahead.
All right. I'm a parent of a student that attends Wood Creek High and also was involved with the landing spot. When I read the email that was sent out from the district, I was both horrified and concerned that my child had either been subjected to abuse or exposed to illegal activity of some sort. For the district to call Roseville Police Department and Child Protective Services, I was convinced something horrific had taken place on campus through the landing spot. After reading the district's email, I immediately contacted the superintendent, and when I did not receive anything back after 24 hours, I emailed Mr. Constant, Mr. Becker, and other folks in the district to find out what type of abuse my child had been exposed to. Fortunately, yesterday afternoon, I received a call from Mr. RJUHSD at the district explaining to me what had happened. His information settled my nerves, as it was clear that any allegations of abuse or grooming were unfounded upon and unsubstantiated. With this said, I have seen nothing but positive come out of the landing spot and their support of both my wife and my child. I am horrified that the district would put out a statement that would insinuate that abuse had been taking place, all the while knowing that the claims were false and came from a group of individuals that have a different ideology than that of the landing spot. These groups have publicly stated that folks that are involved in groups like the landing spot are enemies that need to be stamped out. I understand that the district made a decision.
Thank you,
but
sir.
I
Your
implore you
time
to
is up.
provide
Our
an
next
objective
speaker
reason.
is Wendy Beal, followed by Kathleen Finnerly and then Kevin Dredge. Wendy?
Good evening, board. I really don't have anything planned to say, but this is just emotional for our whole community. It's heartbreaking to see the division, to hear the children speak. We all have children in this community. We all love this community very much. I've been able to have the opportunity to come to these board meetings for the last 2.5, almost 3 years. I want to thank each and every one of you up there. I believe wholeheartedly you have all of our children's best interests at heart. Although we might deem that different down here on the floor, I truly do believe that you all have our children's best interests at heart. I do want to thank you for taking swift action on protecting our children with the knowledge that you had that was coming through to you all. I have friends in this room that I've known for years. It breaks my heart for me to think that they think that possibly we are on separate sides. I don't believe we are on separate sides. I believe that we have more in common in this room than we think we do. We all have our children's best interest at hearts. So again, I just want to thank this board for your time. I want to thank you for putting your agenda items aside and making it priority for every single community member to have the opportunity to speak this evening. Thank you.
Your time is up. All right, next up we have Kathleen, followed by Kevin, followed by, I think it says Brian Wong.
Good evening, chair members and Sir Chair. I'm the attorney for Casey Tinnen and the church. And the reason he's not here tonight is because it's not safe. We'll be getting restraining orders to deal with those issues as we need to. But the issue for tonight is to talk about facts and law. Let's talk about the facts that the landing spot has been at the school for nearly 5 years without a single complaint by the students, by the administration, or by the police, or to the police. Let's deal with the fact that they are never in locked rooms with just someone from the landing spot. That's pure fallacy. They are in with administrators who are there to provide support. The other fallacy is they're not being groomed. If grooming is educating and supporting, then you're all groomers. There's no sex being promoted. There's no blockers being promoted. There's no evidence of that. All we've heard is rhetoric, assumptions, and rumors.
Please respect the speaker. Go ahead,
So
continue.
with regard to the allegations that the pastor encourages children to lie to their parents, that too is false. What he said.
Hold on, please, everyone. I'm going to ask you one more time. If you speak out again out of turn, you are going to have to leave. Let's be respectful. Do we have time left when I wasn't watching the clock?
If
We'll
you want to
give
hear, if you want to hear what he said,
We'll give
I'm willing
you,
to do it.
I wasn't looking at the clock, so I'm going to give you like 5 seconds to wrap it up, and then we'll move on to the next speaker. Go ahead.
what he says is that he tells children to tell parents that they're at the library or they're at a club, which in fact they are. But the predicate question was, what do you do with hostile parents who won't let their children come to the dinner table because they're gay? Okay? I have the transcript.
Thank you. Your time is up now.
I'm
Kevin,
ready to talk
followed
facts
by
and law.
Hold on, sir. Kevin, followed by Brian Wong, followed by Charlene Wong. Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I appreciate what you do. And I have been, my name is Kevin Dredge. I'm a peer support specialist. I've gone through extensive training through volunteering, and I have had these people represent me and help through the way. So one thing that I'd like to say is thank you. And another thing that I'd like to say is that I had 2 kids that went through the school district. And one thing that we all need to learn right here in this room is you ask Google if a 16-year-old has lived 365 days, how many days is that? About 5,000, right? And to look at this room right now, and no offense, but the direction has been given to please keep it quiet, have respect for us to give our comments, and have respect for our children and our youth. So one thing that we should reflect on right here, right now, is these kids are in 9th grade. What happened the other years before they got here, it may be a direct reflection of this clapping and that's not following direction. So the advice that I think that we all should take is to come together and create some after-school groups, or to come together and really formulate a plan, and then get with these gentlemen and ladies and come to a concise agreement of the way that we should lead our kids going into this horrible future that we're living in, and in so many different ways. Let's make it positive. And please don't clap. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. Our next speaker is Brian, followed by Charlene, followed by Felicia Corbett. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. First, I would like to thank the board for its swift actions in the past month. Canceling the drag show at Roseville High was not an easy decision, but it was the right one. Likewise, swiftly disassociating from the landing spot to protect our kids in light of the Project Veritas video this past week was the right call. Thank you. I'm not here because I'm against students, teachers, staff, or the LGBT community. I'm here because I'm pro-parents. As parents, we need more communication and more information and more transparency from you. I'd like to remind the board that parents and guardians have primary responsibility for children, not school districts. And as much as you are legally allowed to disclose information to us, I encourage you to do so. And where you are not, I encourage the board to think creatively about how to ensure parents are informed. Look up the term warrant canary on Wikipedia. Lest you balk at the legal and regulatory environment, I would encourage the board to remember the courageous actions you took just over a year ago to free our children from the tyranny of mask mandates. That was the right call. Your decision was vindicated in the masked face of our despotic governor and his advisors, so thank you. Lastly, I want you to know that many of us here are praying for you. We pray for your discernment. We pray that you make wise choices, and we pray that you make bold decisions for the benefit of our children when you confront opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Charlene, followed by Felicia, followed by Cassie Lynn. Go ahead, ma'am.
Members of the board, I know it's not easy to sit in your seat, especially given the amount of controversy that has hit our district in the past month. So thank you for your service. I want to speak tonight on the behalf of the parents who find Mr. Tinnin's approach and tactics detestable, but are not anti-LGBTQA+. For Mr. Tinnin, I'm not sure why he's lurking in the shadows and preying on impressionable young students without consent or even notification to the parents. This is deplorable, wretched, despicable, vile, and contemptible. It wasn't long ago that the corruption of a minor was a serious crime in this country. Now society at large seems to welcome such behaviors with open arms. Members of the board, thank you for standing up for parents and children with your decision this past week, disassociating from the landing spot to protect our kids with the right decision. Again, I am not anti-LGBTQA+. I believe it's important for people in the LGBTQA+ community to know that you are loved and valued. I may not be in your shoes. I may not agree with your choice they make or feelings they have, but that doesn't diminish their intrinsic worth. As our Declaration of Independence so eloquently put it, they are endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The solution is not putting a wedge between parents and children. Having children lie and attend secret meetings is not the answer. Let's get to the root of the problem. Let's get parents involved. Let's get family therapy and do whatever it takes to support the family and children. We can get this together.
Our next speaker is Felicia, followed by Cassie, followed by Amy Wenzel. Go ahead.
Okay. My name's Felicia Corbett. I'm a wife of a disabled vet, married lesbian mother of 3 kids, one who attends this school, a medical provider, former middle and high school science teacher. Oh, yeah, definitely. I am deeply disappointed that the school board and superintendent have taken actions that are clearly homophobic, very reactive, and supporting the objections of a religious conservative minority, instead of actually serving all of the students and the LGBTQ students and their families and supporters. I would love to hear more about your process where you actually decide which events and organizations are approved on your campuses, as obviously this is not transparent. It appears that many of the high school wellness centers that support our youth had invited the landing spot onto their campuses with the principal and counselor's approval. The principal and counselors are responsible to make sure the proper paperwork was in place before inviting them on campus. It appears that it's not just a lack of paperwork that you're reacting to. It's only when the boards have come to pressure from conservative groups or perhaps acting on your own homophobic manner that this knee-jerk reaction to ban them from campus has happened. The Roseville School Board has joined Texas, Florida, Tennessee in taking a stand against drag shows out of fear and hatred and thinking that there's some kind of false danger to children. Also of concern is why you would take an unauthorized recording, which clearly violated California Penal Code 632, as also validated by ABC News 10, of a conversation with Pastor Tinnis where the recorders from a far-right organization, Project Veritas.
Thank you, but your time is up.
Oh, okay.
Cassie Lynn, followed by Amy Wenzel, followed by Michael Wenzel. Cassie?
Hi, my name is Cassie, and I'm a parent in Roseville. I am very concerned about the school board's recent decisions regarding Pastor Casey and the landing spot. Just a couple of weeks ago, the youth drag show was canceled for groundless reasons, and now you are further cutting ties with the landing spot and contacting the police and CPS over a clearly biased video that takes Pastor Casey's words out of context. LGBTQ plus youth are more than 4 times as likely as their peers to die by suicide, and just one adult in their life can reduce that chance. And to all the kids in the audience today, I love you all, and I appreciate you guys being here. The landing spot provides queer kids and their parents a safe space to process the unique challenges they face. But instead of helping these students, you further alienate them by removing a safety net. Our students are less safe after your letter to parents than before. You have an obligation to represent the interests of all students, but you are only listening to one side and ignoring the parents and community members you disagree with. You claim the district will continue to provide other resources for queer students, but how can we trust that? What is stopping you from taking away the Gay-Straight Alliance or any other resource? Board policy prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression, and this should apply to student resources. I urge the board to create a clearly defined policy that lays out what criteria must be met in order for resources like the landing spot to be removed from schools.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Amy, followed by Michael, followed by Jennifer Cronin. Amy?
So if we're in the same family, can we combine our time, or I'll talk
No,
for a minute
sorry.
and
I
a
got to
half
be
and
fair to
you?
everybody.
Okay. I am a parent of a special needs student at Oakmont. Just an aside, your special education program there is phenomenal. Yesterday, my son's life was threatened. A man called our phone and said, "You and your family better not ever show your faces at that church full of faggots again, or you and your retarded son will regret the day you were ever born." That is verbatim what was said. And a minute later, a woman called, both of these from restricted numbers, and said, You better take this seriously. We mean business. You do not show up at that church again or you will regret it. Now, I originally prepared a statement to say, as a foster parent, there are youth in your school district that are living with strangers like myself because their parents have thrown them out because of their sexual orientation. They have to come live with someone like me and my husband who they've never met us. They don't know who we are. They don't know if we're going to abuse them. They don't know if we're going to feed them because their mom and dad, sorry, you're LGBT, you're out of the family. So places like the Landing Spot, that may be the only people that those youth have.
Thank you, but your time is up. Michael, followed by Jennifer, followed by Key Siadatin. I probably didn't pronounce that right. I apologize for that. Michael?
Okay, first, my credentials. One, I've got over 40 years of service in education, and I will put that up against almost anyone in here. Secondly, I am asexual. Thirdly, I am on the autism spectrum. So I think I have a right to say this. Now, the first thing is, I grew up at a time when there wasn't resources. I almost took my life several times. I've had friends who did take their lives. As an instructor, I've had students who have taken their lives because I've lost students because of, they don't have the resources, et cetera, that are available. As my wife said, now we have, death threats, which is a standard bully tactic, trying to threaten us because we wish to attend a church, which harkens back to, history. Thirdly, I would like to address, I have seen a couple of the members on the board. I've been watching as an instructor for over 40 years. That's my training. And I do not appreciate the fact that there are a couple who really aren't making eye contact and they're typing on their computer or they're writing notes, etc., or playing on their phone as people are speaking, and that's very disrespectful, and you ask us for respect. And finally, last line of the
Thank you, but your time is up. Our next speaker is Jennifer Cronin. Jennifer, followed by Key, followed by Nick Bennett. Jennifer, are you here? Jennifer going once. Jennifer going twice. Jennifer's gone. Key Siadatin, followed by Nick Bennett, followed by Krista Reed. Go ahead.
Good evening. During the public comment section of the last board meeting held in this same room, I spoke about my concerns with respect to the policies under consideration that would be akin to banning books. I also spoke about the abhorrent silence as teachers, librarians, and other district staff are being called groomers and pedophiles. After the meeting, I was thanked by a person who introduced himself as Kyle. Kyle walked past the cameras and tripods set up outside by the very organized groups backed by a local church and the American Council, many of whom do not have children in this district. And he interrupted my conversation with others to thank me for my comments. He said that his family had just purchased a home in the neighborhood, that they had a trans daughter, and he was reassured to hear support for our LGBTQ community. Kyle was a liar and a fraud, and as it turns out, he was with Project Veritas. This is the environment that you, some of you with affiliations with the American Council and these other groups, are fostering with the policies you are carrying out. You are creating a charged atmosphere where a parent of a student in your district is approached by Project Veritas con artist because I dared come to your meeting and speak. The multi-pronged attacks on LGBTQ kids in our district via a variety of fronts under false pretenses is wrong, and understand that if any child in this district, because of bullying or lack of access to support or resources, is harmed, I and others stand ready to hold this board and this district accountable.
Our next speaker is Nick, followed by Krista, followed by Elizabeth Jones.
Hello, my name is Nick Bennett. I am a resident of Roseville and graduate of Oakmont High School. I am here tonight to ask the board and district staff to make sure that you are not making decisions based on rumors, accusations, or out of context videos, and instead conduct thorough investigations, including receiving statements from those accused, before taking adverse actions. The landing spot has had several accusations leveled against it, and while I strongly disagree with those claims, it is the responsibility of you and your staff to uphold due process to verify whether there was any wrongful conduct, of which I suspect that you will find none. The landing spot provides lawful counseling and mentorship services for students of this district who often do not have reasonable alternatives, and these counselings are often kept confidential to protect the students from well-known threats of physical violence and ostracization from their family and social groups. By removing the landing spot from your campuses, you are putting students in situations that will adversely affect their well-being and academic performance, without putting forth sufficient evidence that they were being subjected to any harm in the first place. Please allow the landing spot back onto your campuses. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Krista Reed, followed by Elizabeth Jones, followed by Katie LaRue. Krista?
My name is Krista Reed. I have lived in this community for 12 years and raised 2 children. I also work in mental health. I am one of the team that goes to the schools, that goes to the homes, or anywhere else in the community that is needed to evaluate someone when they are suicidal. One of the biggest reasons someone contemplates suicide is exclusion. Let me say that again. One of the biggest reasons someone contemplates suicide is exclusion. Do you want to contribute negatively or positively to someone contemplating suicide? I support a family to instill their values. I don't support adults instilling exclusion, especially for a population that already struggles to be included. It takes a village to raise a family. Please be a village of love, even if others make different choices than yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Elizabeth Jones. I don't see anyone coming forward. Elizabeth going once. Elizabeth going twice. Elizabeth is gone. Katie LaRue, followed by Gina B., followed by Alicia Watkins.
It is an outright embarrassment that our school district, a place of education that actively teaches its students to fact-check information for accuracy, reacted so heavily based on what amounts to an extremist version of the National Enquirer. It's equivalent of the district taking impulsive action on content put out by TMZ, The Hollywood Gossip, The Onion, or some random person sitting on the floor of their double-wide trailer with 12 YouTube subscribers. While the attendees in this room may be divided, I think we can all agree that starving a child is neglect. The irony of the video the district referenced is that Project Veritas kept in the parts where the pastor reiterates his ultimate goals are for queer youth safety, and left in the part where the pastor said he has had teens in the support group whose parents were refusing to feed them and allow them to be part of the family at meals, othering them. They said their quiet part out loud for everyone to see while spreading misinformation. Pastor Casey should report cases where children are being emotionally neglected, abused, othered in their house, and unaffirmed to the point where they may be suicidal. So should you and all of your district staff. That's your job. That's part of mandated reporter training. Casey was doing his job. We can all walk and chew gum at the same time. We know that Casey was not making willy-nilly reports on parents still learning about their child's queerness. He was making reports in cases of
Thank you,
abuse.
but your time is up. Our next speaker is Gina B., followed by Alicia Watkins, followed by Paul DiLoretto. Gina.
I'm Gina. I'm a parent in this district. I'm here to be a public voice for those in opposition to the recent decisions made by this board that disparage a reputable Placer County organization known as the Landing Spot and an associated compassionate individual, both providing life-saving services to this area's youth and families for years. This board only seems to acknowledge and care about a few hundred parents whose complaints align with your own views and stances,
And then you communicate subsequent decisions you've made without any solicitation for further engagement of the thousands of other families and students you're supposed to represent. I was appalled to see a communication from this district referencing a Project Veritas video as though it was a credible news source instead of a duplicitous organization with a documented history of unethical conduct. The fact that the email was sent within a day of the video's release indicates there was no effort to request an unedited version to validate any statements of concern, no attempt to ascertain whether students or staff have been negatively impacted by any presence of the landing spot on our campuses, and no consideration for the potential damage caused by the insinuation of illegal activity occurring that warranted police and CPS conduct. I wish I'd received an email from the district that expresses their zero tolerance policy for the threats they were made aware of occurring towards the landing spot and possibly students regarding their plans to host a drag show fundraiser in one of our facilities outside of school hours. Threats of that nature certainly seem worthy of sharing with the police. To take the actions you've taken to limit the resources available.
Thank you, but your time is up. Our next speaker is Alicia. Alicia, followed by the first Paul, then followed by Paul Everts. Alicia.
Thank you for the time. When I chose to have a child, I was scared about keeping him safe from pedophiles. Predators are everywhere. Mine was my father, so I shielded my son, never sent him away to camp, never pushed him into sports, never even hired a babysitter. I never thought he might be labeled as a pedophile simply for being LGBTQ+. This is where we are now. Abusive. Teachers are being called groomers. LGBTQ+ are called pedophiles, and we have our lives threatened every day, all for the crime of existing outside your comfort zone. So when we create support systems for children like my son, come in and lie about them. I don't see you call out as lies. I see you finding another excuse to attack my community. I see you. My son sees you. All the kids see you. They see a future of you calling them perverts and pedophiles. They see you taking away their rights to marriage. They see you dehumanizing them. They see you and wonder if suicide is easier than growing up in a that you for them. They see you sending death threats to those who are showing them a world filled with empathy, love, and joy. They see you. And you are breaking their hearts. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Paul, followed by Jeffrey Perrin. That one. Thank you. Paul.
I got two quick subjects. Several meetings ago, a parent got up to speak against a financial management course because it was not taught formally in a classroom. That class is important to every student's financial welfare in their future. If this class had been taught 40 years ago and been mandatory, we wouldn't be having the student loan problems that we have today. So thank you. Do not let that class go away, even though it's on their own time. Second one was regarding the Project Veritas tape. I watched it, been involved in law enforcement. I couldn't see any coercion or threats made against the Reverend and the statements he made. He lied and admitted to deceiving people, parents, or had helped children do it by giving them information to do that. I fully support what you did. I've heard that talk before and had to deal with pedophiles and people involved with the sex industry. So appreciate you taking that action. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, no, you've got to quit calling out. All right, Paul, followed by Jeffrey, and then I got one I really can't read, you guys. So maybe a Matt with a B last name. Matt or Yvette, Granite Bay High School. Okay, Paul, followed by Jeffrey. Go ahead, Paul.
Good evening.
As a former district teacher, the recent video and the March 2023 letter from the superintendent, there's some concerns that I have. John, if I could address them. Okay. I'm going to say that the district possibly neglected to properly vet youth service organizations and adult counseling in the wellness center and regularly visiting school clubs. The landing spot provided no evidence that it was complying with the requirements of AB 506, which requires adults in a youth service organization to undergo a background check to exclude persons with a history of child abuse. Providing the landing spot access to students is not the only instance of referring students to unvetted adults. Through its Wellness Center website via genderspectrum.org, the district refers students to the Trevor Project. The Trevor Project provides chat spaces for minors and unvetted adults to connect and talk about sex and sexuality. So from the recent information, John and Pete, I respectfully recommend that the district implements and/or enforces the following policies. The district must obtain background checks on all volunteers that regularly visit on-campus clubs. Number 2, the district set policies to not refer students to any youth organization or online website that provides counseling, mentorship, or chat groups with unvetted adults. The organization must
Thank
verify.
you, Paul. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jeffrey. So the next one could be Matt or Marty or Yvette. And I know those aren't anything close to each other, but literally those are the only things I can get out of it. So if one of those, is that you? You gave me the same problem last time. Okay. Not to call you out or anything, but all right. So it's going to be Jeffrey, and then the lady's going to tell us her name, and then it's going to be Barbara. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, board. I couldn't be more proud as a citizen and a constituent in this area. You board actually stood up for the kids and the families. I want to thank you. The LGBT cult is taking over everything in this state. You understand? It's good to see someone with a backbone. I knew there was something good about Roseville and Placer County that Sacramento is lacking. It's disgusting to see these pedophile groomers that have infiltrated our schools. I'm glad to see that there's people with a backbone, because you know what? They need to be exposed. And I don't really care that the leftists are, ooh, it bothers me, I need a safe place. Well, you know what happens in safe places? School shootings. You know what? When there's guns around, people don't get shot. We got safe zones where pedos are taking advantage of kids. Now, what do you think's going to happen behind these closed doors? Video evidence shows groomers and pedophiles are everywhere, folks.
Hold on, sir.
Thank you.
Everyone, please.
I need to get about 3 more seconds, bro.
Please stop
Yeah.
your shout outs. Stop. Please. Ma'am, you're going to have to leave the meeting. Okay. Bye. Anybody else who's doing calls out's going to be asked to leave as well. You have 3 seconds left, sir.
3 seconds on top of the 37, sir?
Yeah, 3 added on.
Thank you, sir. So again, I just want to reiterate, I appreciate you taking the time to let Casey Teenan know he's not safe on campus. He doesn't belong on campus. He should be banned from every campus. And I'm the guy that went to his house, and I recommend that everybody joins me, because I'll be there tonight again. And I'll be there until about 9:59, because that is what we do. You understand?
Please stop. Stop. Hold on.
Yeah.
You guys, everyone, please.
Triggered
Everyone needs to stop,
much?
please.
Freedom of
No,
speech.
you don't get
Freedom
to
of
do point of order. Sit down. Okay. You need to sit down.
It's a sign language letter F, man.
Please. Everybody stop. Ma'am, you need to leave this meeting. We are going to adjourn this meeting at this time. Okay.
Feel me? Feel me?
Everyone.
Feel me?
Step out.
Thank you, board. Thank you, Landon. Thank you, Becker. Thank you, Con.
We'll come back and get our stuff.
Okay. Let's scooch out for a bit.
Thank you all who are watching. Unfortunately, we had to adjourn our meeting due to the crowd becoming unruly and getting out of control. Fortunately, all but 8 people had the opportunity to give their comments to the board. So this meeting is now officially adjourned. Thank you.